Hello everyone and welcome to America's favorite new game show. Let's play Match That Function. And in order to play this game, we need to turn to page 23 in our trig packets. So everyone get to page 23. And you'll see this big chart. And due to the pandemic, we'll be having our contestants call in and play via the phone. So in order to play Match That Function, somebody calls in and picks a function, such as the sine of an angle. So let's say the sine of 15 degrees. So you can see here the sine of 15 degrees is 0.2588. I will be able to then match that function with another 0.2588 on this sheet, like magic. So let's take our first caller. Good afternoon, Match That Function. Okay, sure. Sine of 3. Okay, this person picked sine of 3, 0.0523. I can find another 0.0523. I'll bet you it is, let's see, the cosine of 87. Cosine, right, of 87. There it is, 0.0523. How did he do that, you say? Because I can match that function. Next caller, please. Match that function. Okay, sure. They picked the cosine of 20. The cosine of 20 is 0.9397. So I can match that function. Let's see. Cosine of 20. I'm going to go with the sine of 70. There it is. 0.9397. There it is again. How am I doing that? Because I know how to match that function. Let's take one more caller. Good afternoon. Let's play Match That Function. Sounds great. The sine of 1 degree. Okay. The sine of 1 degree. 0.0175. The sine of 1. I'm going to say the cosine of 89. There it is. The cosine of 89. 0.0175. How on earth is this happening? How can I match that function so quickly? Do I have this whole chart memorized? No, I don't. I know my cofunctions, which allows me to match that function. Now, let me tell you how I did that. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'll teach you by doing... I'm going to have you look at the sine of, let's say, you can't see that one because it's blocked out, so I'll say the sine of 40 is 0.6426. 40 and what make 90? Well, that would be 50, right? 40 and 50 make 90. So what adds up to 90 with 40? What's the complement of 40? 50. So if the sine of 40 is something, then so is the cosine of 50. Sine and cosine are what we call cofunctions. We're not talking about tangent at all today. So the sine of 40 would be the same thing as the cosine of 50, 0.6428. And that makes them cofunctions. So the sine of one angle is the same thing as the cosine of its complement, meaning the two numbers have to add up to 90. All right, let's go to page 26. Let's jump forward for a minute. And on page 26, we're in this bottom part, starting with question number 3. And let's look at this first example here. the sine of 42 is going to be the same thing as the cosine of, notice it's always sine and cosine every time, because they're cofunctions. The sine of 42 is the same thing as the cosine of 48. Why is that true? Because 42 and 48 add up to 90. So what we really did was 42 plus what equals 90? And the answer was 48. The cosine of 12. Cosine, sine. So 12 plus what equals 90? It's always 90. Take away 12 from 90, 78. Those are cofunctions. This one's interesting. Sine of 45 is going to be the same thing as the cosine of 45. Why? Because 45 plus what equals 90? Answer, itself. 45 and 45 make 90. So the sine of 45 and the cosine of 45 both make 90. Both add up to 90. And here's another interesting one. 0 plus what equals 90? 90. So the cosine of 0 is the same thing as the sine of 90. See the pattern here? Cosine of 65. 65 and what make 90? Algebraically, it looks like this. What do we have? $25. The sine of 25 is the same thing as the cosine of 65. All right, let's jump down and do some algebra now. What is this? Well, if you remember, let's follow the pattern, right? I'll use this one. This plus this equals 90, right? This plus this equals 90. This plus this equals 90. So that means this plus this equals 90. So you don't even really need the word sine and cosine, because the sine of an angle plus the cosine of another angle equals 90. So whatever's here plus whatever's here equals 90. And then you just solve algebraically. Got some like terms here. 35 minus 5. Subtract 30 from both sides, and x equals 60. And we know that's true because if you had 60 here, 60 minus 5 is 55, and then 55 and 35, you make 90. So let's try the next one. Yikes, what's this? This plus this equals 90. This plus this equals 90. That plus that equals 90. 2x and x is 3x. Negative 17, go down 4 more. That's negative 21. Add 21 to both sides. Right, and we get $111. We divide both sides by 3. That's yucky. 111 divided by 3. That came out to be 37. Bet you didn't think that was going to come out even. It did. How about this one? This plus this equals 90. X plus x equals 90. That's 2 x's equal 90. Divide by 2. And just as we said before, x is 45 if they're both going to be the same, right? Question D. Remember, it's whatever's with sine plus whatever's with cosine, and that equals 90. So if I have 3/4 of an x, and I add 1/4 of an x, and that's supposed to equal 90, if I have 3/4 and you have 1/4, together we have 1 whole. So it's 1x equals 90. Not as ugly as it looked. But again, the moral of the story here is match that function. This plus this equals 90. So this plus this equals 90. And you can do that anytime you have a sine and a cosine because they're cofunctions. So let's combine like terms. 6x minus 32, right? Down 22, down 10 more. Let's solve that. Didn't come out evenly, but 122 over 6 is 20 1/3. And the last one, this plus this equals 90. So it's this plus this equals 90. Let's solve this one. And then from this point, we could multiply both sides by 4/3 to cancel that out. So whatever 27 times 4/3 is, happens to be 36 on your calculator. 27 times 4 divided by 3. So now we understand that whatever's next to sine plus whatever's next to cosine equals 90, and then you just solve it algebraically. So you are going to go back one page to the Now You Try Some at the top of page 25, so you can play Match That Function as an assignment. Page 25, 1 through 6. You're going to take a picture of this and upload it to Google Classroom, 1 through 6. And remember, whatever's next to sine plus whatever's next to cosine equals 90. And you solve from there. The answers to this are at the bottom, so you can check your work, but you need to show all your work here and take a picture of it and upload it. Thanks to everybody for playing Match That Function. Join us tomorrow for more.